Hello, I'm Stephanie Quine with the weekly Law Report. Here are our top stories this week. The end to the marathon legal battle involving former James Hardie directors is likely to alter how boards conduct themselves, according to legal experts. On Monday, the New South Wales Court of Appeal handed down its judgment, reducing the penalties imposed by the High Court on the 7 former non-executive directors involved. The directors, who misled investors about the company's asbestos compensation fund in 2001, have each been fined $25,000 and banned from serving on boards for 2 years. Kemp Strang partner Alex Linden, who acted for Peter Wilcox, highlighted the comments made by Justice Barrett about the high-risk strategy of voting on a consensual basis. Each director, he explained, must vote in such a way that enables a specific and accurate recording of their particular position in relation to the proposed resolutions. Mark Van Brackle said the judgment provided a stark illustration of the risk to individual directors. And we'll be covering this issue in more depth in next week's video featuring interviews with leading asbestos lawyers. The charm of terrace houses in Sydney could be destroyed under changes proposed by the state government. A bill to be tabled this week would see development control plans, or DCPs, watered down to have the force only of guidelines rather than statutory power. DCPs have been described as the fine print of the New South Wales planning system, which protect local communities from inappropriate development.
It's the devil in the detail. It's where developments are limited in their size and scope, usually heights, setbacks, and what the design features of a development have to have.
The Environmental Planning and Assessment Amendment Bill is just one of 15 pieces of draft legislation introduced last month ahead of a government white paper on planning. Lawyers and community groups are concerned that proposed reforms will mean less community engagement and inadequate environmental protections. I spoke with James Phan, chair of the New South Wales Young Lawyers Environment Planning Law Committee, to find out what he thinks about the proposed reforms. The Green Paper claims to put a focus on community participation in the planning process, but what were your initial impressions of this? Do you think it indicates a meaningful idea of community engagement?
I think people expect that that their voices will be heard. I guess the key in any new reform is to make sure that the public participation charter, as they're proposing, is enshrined in the law and that it doesn't get eroded over time and that it be applicable to all development types. We don't want to get into a situation where lack of community consultation or participation at the upfront stage is used against communities. There's been a lot of talk about strategic consultation in formulating plans before the actual application stage, and so I think the issue there is that communities generally aren't interested until they see an application before them, until they see the application for a certain use right next to their house, for example. And so we don't want to get into a situation where a community's lack of participation early on is used against them.
In other news, it's a $1 million payday for Maurice Blackburn, which will pocket $12.5 million out of a $115 million settlement payout by the National Australia Bank. NAB will make the payment to investors who lost money during the GFC after purchasing toxic financial products. Jacob Varghese, principal lawyer for the plaintiffs, said that last Friday's settlement underlines the obligation of financial institutions and other listed companies to disclose information that may impact share price. That's all we have time for in this edition of the Weekly Law Report. You can find more details on those stories and more at our website. Don't forget, you can follow us through the week on Facebook, Twitter and LinkedIn. And look out for our video interviews on the latest James Hardie decision in next week's video. I'm Stephanie Quine, thanks for watching.